Welcome into another edition of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Hey, folks, hope y'all are doing well out there. Thank you for bearing with me now that you had a choice. I posted up on YouTube that I was not going to be able to do a live recording on Sunday. I followed that up. Well, I didn't follow it up online, but I thought possibly Monday I would be able to sneak something in. That didn't work. Yesterday I was exhausted, and finally on Wednesday getting out the recap. So this is not going to be your normal recap, as I'm not as amped up as I would be after a game. But hey, let's talk about why I was late. So we were out celebrating my brother, who just went through basic law enforcement training. He's going to be a sheriff, and hats off to him, man, because he had a total career change in his early 30s, decided like this was his calling, this is what he wanted to do. Ended up getting most outstanding in the entire class, a bunch of other awards, and of course passed. And so hats off to him. But we went up Sunday, so I watched the Panthers game with family, which was fun, but that was also why I was not online. I will tell you, I was on ESPN Wilmington this week. So Tuesday, you might have had a chance to hear a little bit if you're in the local market and you tune into that. I did a bad job of promoting that. I didn't tweet it out that I was going on the show, but I went on the show and we talked about the Panthers and the Eagles, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the ceremony was Monday. So Monday night, we left, and this was about 3.5 hours away outside of Greensboro. We left around 8, a little after 8. So I think we got home close to midnight. And then by that time, I was amped up because I drank a bunch of coffee. I didn't really sleep. Next day, like I said, Tuesday, I was exhausted. I had every intention of recording. I ended up spending that time going back and rewatching the game because when I was with family, I don't get to watch it as much. Like I'm there, but we're talking. So I went back, rewatched it, and here we are Wednesday night, finally getting an episode out for you guys. And overall, there's a lot of storylines. I think the biggest one is going to be the development of Bryce Young. Well, maybe that's not the biggest one. I think if we take a step back and we're honest with ourselves, the biggest storyline coming out of the game is probably the injury news to Jonathan Brooks. And it's disappointing. It's frustrating for us, for him, for fans, everyone. No one, I wouldn't wish this on any player, any team, Tampa, Saints, Falcons, anyone at all. Would not want this to happen. Devastating news. Injured the ACL, same ACL. He's going to have surgery. And if we're being honest, last year's recovery or injury happened in November. This is a month after that. I would not anticipate Jonathan Brooks playing a snap next year. Possibly playoffs, but if we're being honest, I wouldn't even rush it. And I don't think the Panthers rushed this, but you do wonder. And I mean, it felt right. He was cleared. He was ready to go. I think they took the necessary precautions, like delaying it even after they activated him, giving him the bye, giving him ample rest, limiting his reps, like all those things that you would do. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. And it sucks. It sucks for fans. It sucks for him. I know a lot of fans, well, I don't know if I'd say a lot, but I know some fans are kind of looking back on this pick in hindsight, saying we wasted the second round pick. I'm not going to go that far, but I will acknowledge that, yeah, maybe there was a better option, or maybe we shouldn't have looked at a running back, at least one with injury history, this early. However, we know somebody by the name of Thomas Davis that went through this, 3 ACL tears. So it can happen and you can overcome it. And we wish the best for Jonathan Brooks. We want him to be successful. It stinks. You now turn your attention to Mike Boone as a second string running back because Miles Sanders still injured, battling an injury. Maybe he'll be back soon. Not that there's a lot of time left, 4 games, but Raheem Blackshear suffered a setback. So this is the team moving forward. It's a good opportunity for Mike Boone, who really is kind of the veteran as far as experience on the team. Not that he's putting up a ton of numbers, but we will see how this thing pans out for the Carolina Panthers moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, how about Chuba Hubbard? Not one of the headlines that I really had is, the three takeaways, but hats off to Chuba Hubbard, eclipsing 1,000 yards, first time in his career. I talked about all those stats coming into this game, how much it would mean. And he got it. He got over the line. I'm glad the Panthers paid him now, because you can imagine if we didn't lock him up, that price tag probably would have gone up, and he probably would have waited till the end of the year to get paid. But he wants to be here. So it's positive news and good for him. And he has the chance to close it out strong. I mean, he could get close to 1,300 yards. Fantastic season for Chuba Hubbard. You hate that there's just not a few more wins. And speaking of progress in wins and a lack thereof, we will go back now to talk about Bryce Young and his performance. And Bryce Young played a fantastic game again. I know he had the one turnover. That turnover did lead to 7 points. Could be a difference in the game. Throw just wasn't there. But overall, Bryce Young delivered. And when you look at that last drive, 97 yards. It was 3rd and long, backed up in the end zone. He evades the pressure. He gets out, makes a insane throw to Xavier Legette, gets a big pickup. He continues to execute plays on 4th down through the entire drive. Heck of a performance. There's been a lot of questions this week to Dave Canales. I think they listen to us. Speaking of the writers, the beat reporters, they hear what we say when we mention the car crash and whether or not Bryce Young would have even had this opportunity. And it was at the end of the presser, David Newton from ESPN, I believe that was who it was at the end, asked Dave Canales what was the plan for Bryce Young to get back out there if this never happened. So if Andy Dalton never got hurt, was there a plan to get him back? Because we also heard Dave Canales say that he was rooting for Andy Dalton, which I get it. He's the quarterback. You want him to perform well. You want all your players to perform well. But the fact we still look at this as a week-to-week situation, it's mind-blowing. Bryce Young has done more than enough. He saved Dave Canales in situations, and Dave Canales admitted that this week in some of his pressers. That Bryce Young has been the one to save him on a play call, fitting it into a tight window, throw the ball away, see him execute and move around the pocket the way that he has. We are seeing the development of Bryce. And for me, when I first saw this start, I said, well, maybe he's going to figure this out. Like maybe this isn't a fluke, but I still felt like, well, I want to see it a few more times. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it against really good teams. You take the last 3 weeks, heartbreaking losses in all 3 of them. When you think about this game, we'll get into it in a minute with Xavier Legette. But if he makes that play, man. Now, I know the Eagles would have had time. Eddie Pinheiro would have had to make a kick. But overall, you would have said, oh, man, we've got a chance. Maybe we're going to put something together. It didn't happen. Kind of devastating in a way to see another loss, because if you stack the last 3 weeks, you are talking about the Panthers being like 1 game or at least a game back out of first place in the NFC South. Now, it's not over, but it's basically over. The Panthers are not technically eliminated from the playoffs. They're 3-10. They're the only team with 3 or fewer wins, that have not been eliminated. So I think it's all due time. I think if the Bucs win this weekend, that's it. That's all she wrote. So tough sledding, man. Actually, I guess if the Bucs win and we lose, so there's still hope. But odds are definitely not in our favor. But it just shows you how weak the NFC South is. And I think looking into next year, you feel like, hey, we got a pretty decent shot. Speaking of next year, if you guys have not had a chance, we do have some content starting to drum up. Like I said, these last few days, I haven't picked up my laptop. Laptop was even dead when I went up to record today. But we've got a breakdown of all the offensive free agents. A video is out, and I'm going to do a new version of that. And then defense, I created the graphic. I have not gone through and started to evaluate that. But we'll have all that. 4 games to go. It's time to talk about the offseason. Time to talk about draft picks, draft capital. But I don't like to touch mock drafts until I personally have a good grasp of how I see and view the roster. So lots of questions, including Tommy Tremble. Is he coming back? Got a touchdown, nice play. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of him. And I guess we'll get into the box score stat lines in just a second, but we will talk about the final storylines. So we talk about Bryce Young, we talk about Jonathan Brooks. Maybe as a whole, we could talk about the defense, who has played much better. I expected Saquon Barkley to go for 200 plus. So I think keeping them contained the way we did, keeping Jalen Hurts contained. Jalen Hurts has not been playing well. As far as passing, I couldn't have asked for more. And they did give the Panthers a chance at the end. And hey, we were one drop away. It was right there. Couldn't make it happen. But lastly, as we pivot over to this, man, it's a tough week. The drops stink for Xavier, and they continue to stack up. And I know he's talked about wanting or apologizing to Bryce. I understand it. I will say I listened to WFNZ this week, got to hear Dow Loggins, his former offensive coordinator at South Carolina, now the head coach of Appalachian State, talking about Xavier Legette and what to expect. And he said to hang in there, that Xavier's a hard worker, that he will figure this out. And I agree. I think no matter what, the Carolina Panthers are going to be looking at a wide receiver next year through free agency, ideally a T. Higgins type player or a Chris Godwin. I think they need an elite level number one receiver, a veteran, someone that's not to knock on rookies. I know rookies can step up and perform, and we've seen it, but someone that can help lead Bryce along a little bit better than what we've seen, and then let these other guys develop. And I am not going to write off Xavier Legette yet. Too early in the process for us to get frustrated with him. So we're going to let this ride. And I think it is going to be okay. But I understand fans that are upset about the situation. Now, let's pivot into our breakdown here. We can get this pulled up. We'll take a look, as we always do, at our game log, game summary right here, exclusively for y'all. It's taking a look at the Panthers starting offense. This was the thing, too. Panthers actually came out with a two-back set to start. Can you imagine how nice that would have been, Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard, that two-back tandem, and what could have been done? That was a new look, but you had Xavier Legette, Icky, Damian Lewis, Cade Mays, Hunt, Moton, Tommy Tremble, Adam Thielen, Bryce Young, Jonathan Brooks, and Chuba Hubbard. Defensively, DJ Wonham, Ashawn Robinson, Shai Tuttle, DJ Johnson, Josie Jewell, Trevin Wallace, J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, Shaw Smith-Wade, Xavier Woods, and Fuller. Your non-actives, Jadeveon Clowney, battling injury, Jalen Coker, Jamie Robinson, Bartholomew, Evans, Farley, and Kingston. The Panthers battled, man. 3-0 in the first quarter, 14-10 at the half. Panthers score 6, go up 16-14, and then the Philadelphia Eagles get 8 points in the fourth quarter, and that was the game. So you think about the turnover leading to points for the Eagles. You think about the penalty on the extra point try that turned into the ability for them to run a 2-point conversion. A lot of what ifs. You think about the Eddie Pinheiro missed field extra point attempt. You stack all those things up. I mean, we could honestly play what if all day. Speaking of the rushing attack, Chuba Hubbard, 26 carries, 92 yards, by far his least amount of yards per carry this season at 3.5. 92 yards, though, 1 touchdown. Bryce Young making plays with his feet again, 7 for 29. 4.1 average. I think that's been one of the differences with Bryce Young, choosing to run when he needs to, making plays with his feet. Jonathan Brooks, 1 for -3. Saquon Barkley, man, I'll take giving up 124 yards. Now, as a team, we gave up 200, but only giving up 124 overall. That's not bad. Hurts with 59 and 1 touchdown, and then Gainwell with 26. Bryce Young was 19-34. 191 yards, sacked 1 time, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jalen Hurts, 14-21, 108 yards, 4 sacks. Like, this defense, man, it's kind of finding something. It's a little too late, but it makes you rethink this whole Evero situation. 2 touchdowns, 110 passer rating. What a game. Another monster game from Adam Thielen. I imagine if Adam Thielen never got hurt, he probably would have had another 1,000-yard year, at least close to it. 9 receptions, 102 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 4 for 15. Legette, 2 for 39. David Moore, again, stepping up, 2 for 25. Got to see a little bit of Tompkins, 1 for 7. Tommy Trimble, 1 for 3, and 1 target for Sanders, but nothing really came of that. We held their receiving core in check. Brown and Smith, 43, 37 yards respectively. Smith did have the 1 touchdown, and Calcaterra had 1 touchdown as well. Punting, good day for Hecker, 45-yard average. Punt return, kick return. No news is good news. Shaw Smith had 1 forced fumble on Jalen Hurts. Did not lose the ball, though. And then we know about the interception as well. Looking at the box score, the Panthers actually had more first downs. And I don't know how often that's happened, but 20-18, 7 of those on the ground, 11 passing, and 2 penalties. They were 7-6 on third down, 43.8%. The Eagles were 7 of 12, 58%, so a little bit better. Fourth down efficiency, Panthers, this is, the way the Panthers are right now, they're the team that nobody wants to play because they're playing like a good football team. They're going toe-to-toe with a lot of good football teams. They're just not getting over the finish line. But if you're a team in the hunt for the playoffs or trying to make the playoffs, you don't want to see the Panthers on your schedule right now. And they can roll the dice. 3 of 5 for 60% on fourth down. So you have a few more opportunities to go for it now. We actually outgained the Eagles by 10 yards, 302 to 292. Ran 69 plays on offense compared to their 56. 4.4 average per play to their 5.2. We talked about rushing. We also talked about passing, punts. We went through all the stat lines here. Penalties were even. 3-yard difference, 7 for 43 for Carolina, 7 for 40 for the Philadelphia Eagles. So yeah, extra points, 1 for 2. We went through that, and then 1 for 1 on field goals. Time of possession in favor of the Panthers, 33 minutes to 26 for Philadelphia. Your drive chart summary, 9 possessions for the Panthers. They had a punt, a field goal, a touchdown, the interception. That touchdown drive to 14 plays, 69 yards. Quite the drive. An interception, then there was the end of the half. Come out with a 12-play, 48-yard drive for a touchdown, and then turnover on downs 2 times in a row. But they got the ball back. They had a chance to go down the field. They put together a heck of a drive. They just couldn't convert, couldn't punch it through, make it over the line. That's another week. Really, Bryce Young probably have 5 or 6 come from behind drives. You'd like to see maybe a few more of those drives earlier in the games when the pressure's on, he's kind of finding his spot. Eagles punt, touchdown, punt, touchdown again, coming off the interception, and a missed field goal. That always helps. Another touchdown, a punt, and then that was the end of the game. Defensive stats for the Panthers. Josie Jewell coming alive, 10 total tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Really good day for him. A'Shawn Robinson with 1.5 sacks as well. 5 total tackles. Horn 6, Wallace 6, Woods 5, DJ Wonham 5, and DJ Wonham also had a sack. DJ Wonham's presence is definitely felt, in my opinion, on the Carolina Panthers defense. We're not going to go through first half, second half stats because, this is later in the week. I'm going to bypass on that. What we will take a look at now, I mean, that's really going to do it. We'll look at one final stat here, or a few stats. Let's look at snap counts, and explosive plays. And then we'll get you caught up. We'll kind of do a little bit of a Dallas preview. It's not the full Dallas preview, but a mini Dallas preview. 10 longest plays for the Panthers, 31 yards to Legette. That was in the fourth quarter on that 3rd and 11 from the 2. 24-yard play, 19, 16, 15, 15. Did give up some big plays to Philadelphia, 35, 27, 20. But overall, man, I can't complain, man. This team is kind of finding its groove. It sucks that it's happening now, but the best thing that's happened is we know who the quarterback is going to be in the future for the Carolina Panthers. Your snap counts, Damian Lewis, Icky, Hunt, Moton, Mays all played 100% of the snaps. So did Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard, 97%. Xavier Legette, 87. Moore, 87. Thielen, 75. Simon Trimble, 65. Sanders, 49. Tompkins, 15. Zavala gets in there on that jumbo set, 10%. Jacina, who was elevated, 10%. Brooks and Felipe Franks on the defensive side of the ball. Mike Jackson, Josie Jewell, Jordan Fuller, Xavier Woods leading the way, 100% of the snaps. Robinson, Horn at 78, Wonum 74, Shaw Smith-White 71. I'm not going to go through the list, but it's all available on there if you want to see that. So what we're going to do is take a look at the Panthers transaction list. I'm actually trying to pull up one other thing very quickly. We'll pivot over here. It's going to get the injury report as well. But we'll take a look at the transactions. It's been a busy week. All right. There was a lot of news coming in. It's just so busy. So Dan Chisena, like we said, and Jacoby Wyndham were standard elevations for week 14. Since then, they signed wide receiver Velus Jones Jr. from the Jaguars practice squad, defensive tackle Sam Roberts from the practice squad. Jonathan Brooks is placed on IR, we know. Waived defensive end Deshaun Williams, signed wide receiver Trenton Irwin to the practice squad, and released wide receiver Dax Milne from the practice squad. So they are staying busy. Now looking over at the injury report, first one of the week as I record this on Wednesday. Chuba Hubbard did not participate, not injury related. He had a rest day. Clowney, it says not injury related. He was just resting his knee. So that's good news. Blackshear with his chest did not participate. It's not looking good for him this week. Trevin Wallace with the shoulder. A'Shawn Robinson had a rest day. And those were your non-participants. You're limited. You had Josie Jewell with the hamstring, J.C. Horn with the groin. That's another one that's going to be monitored is J.C. Horn for his availability this week. DJ Wonham with the knee, Lonnie Johnson with the neck. Jalen Coger was a full participant. So there you go, slowly working his way back. Caleb Farley as well. And then Nick Scott. Moving over, I mean, I'm not going to read this all because it's early in the week, but if you are watching the show, maybe you're listening to the audio, but Cooper Beebe, Eric Kendricks, DeMarvion Overshawn, Juwan A. Thompson, Nick Vigil, Warrior did not participate for the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, let's turn our attention to the Dallas Cowboys. Man, did you know the Carolina Panthers are actually favored in a game? It's hard to believe it. This is the first time in over 2 years the Carolina Panthers have been favored. I'm with some folks that say, I don't know how I feel about this. It's hard to imagine this team being favored. I like them playing as the underdog. They even asked Dave Canales about it today. You know, he likes to avoid this, but at the same time, I mean, it's there. He says, you know, Vegas is pretty good, and they are. Panthers have been really great at covering if you're into that. I don't do sports betting, but if you are, they've been doing a great job covering over these last few weeks, and they're now a favorite. You look at what Dallas and the Bengals did, and Dallas kind of flubbing the game away off the blocked punt that turned into a semi-return. It's not partially blocked, it's blocked, it's touched, it's covered. Wild mess. Bengals get the win. I think the Panthers should feel good, but that doesn't mean that they should be confident they're going to get this win this week. So for me, I look forward to it, and I'm excited for the Panthers. I know the Dallas Cowboys are going to take over, but in general, it's going to be good. At least I hope it is for the Carolina Panthers. But we'll be back later this week with more of a breakdown and analysis on the team. And until then, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.